Hello, welcome to the Analyst Inside Cricket. Our look back at the second day's play from Old Trafford with me, Simon Hughes.
And me, Deep Dasgupta.
Deep, thank you very much for joining us again. And an interesting day, obviously, with England bowling out India for 358 and then replying with 225 for two themselves. So 133 runs behind England with 8 wickets in hand. How does Betfair see it? Well, at the start of the day, England were 42% to win and India 35%, with the draw around about 20. Then we went through the day and India actually were threatening quite a big score at one point because of Rishabh Pant coming into bat, which was extraordinary. We'll talk about that. Coming into bat with a broken foot and actually having quite an impact. Anyway, so he managed to get it to round about even Stevens again, the odds. And then by the end of the day, with England 220 odd for two, thank you very much, Michael Vaughan. He's called us, he's described us correctly because we are going with the analysis here that now England have 36% and India 34%. So according to the odds, it sounds quite close, but actually if you want to bet, it's saying in England 1-3, India 7-1. So England are favourites, really, and obviously, I suppose the only thing is they have got to bat last.
That is true, but how England is placed right now with 130 runs behind and 8 wickets in hand, what you would expect England to do is ideally get a big first innings lead, and then that puts pressure on India to bat third. So if England go on to get, let's say, another 250 odd runs, that would mean roughly a day, and that would be India then batting on day 4. So this pitch on day 4 or third innings, it's going to be quite tricky.
Yeah. So we'll talk through the day because the most surprising thing for me was, firstly, the amount the ball moved this morning, and yet wickets didn't fall very quickly. Jadeja got out early on, and Jofra Archer is making a habit of getting left-handers out, interestingly, but only got a right-hander out right at the end of the innings. But Jadeja out fairly early on, but then Pant comes in. Now, were you shocked?
I was, to be fair. So first thing I came to the ground and I tried to figure out what's happening. So there's rumours of, fractured metatarsal or out for 6 weeks and all. And then I checked whether he's there with the team or not. The first thing I heard was he's not there with the team. Then within an hour or something, before the game started, I just got the news that he's there. He's there with the team and he's ready to bat. And I was like, okay, maybe India might not need him in the first innings. Maybe he's going to come out in the second innings or whatever. And then out he comes to bat. So it was a bit of a surprise, a superhuman effort, to be fair, and also a statement made as far as I'm concerned with this young side, him being part of that leadership group. It's about the gene or genetics or the DNA of this new India side is, body or self over the team, over everything else. So I think it's more than anything else, obviously superhuman effort, but a statement made how this Indian team, this young Indian team, is going to play its cricket going forward.
Do you know of many incidents of players, with quite bad breaks carrying on in a game? I'm thinking of a couple of examples. Well-known one, Malcolm Marshall, 1984, played on with a broken hand and broken thumb actually, and he bowled England out. He got 7th, and he bowled England out amazingly and got a few runs. A couple of other incidents. Actually, Ricky Ponting today told me an interesting one that. In the World Cup final of 2003, Damien Martin had a broken finger and he didn't play in the quarterfinals and the semi-finals, I think, but Ricky wanted him to play in the final, so he played in the final with a broken finger, this finger here, his index finger, and he scored 90. And he says if you look at the highlights of that game, you can see Martin's index finger, his digit, off the bat, most of the innings. So that's a remarkable one. Any others that sprung to mind to you?
So the first thing that comes to my mind, there have been a few incidents. Listen, we've played enough cricket over the years. You'll always find a couple of those incidents, stitches and all of that. But one thing which comes to my mind is Anil Kumble. 2002 Antigua, broke his jaw, so he was bandaged like that, and he came and bowled. He bowled, I think, good 14-15 overs, if not more. Got the wicket of Brian Lara as well with that, and then he was asked to stop because it was heading towards a draw. There was no point of him kind of keep on bowling and exaggerating his injury. But then, I thought that was the most that I've seen on a cricket field. But this one, Rishabh, if it is a fractured foot, then is right up there with Anil's broken jaw.
It had a comical kind of essence to it, didn't it? Because he was sort of shuffling up the wicket. We thought he wouldn't be able to run.
Yes.
And he actually did run a few singles.
Yes.
And then he seemed to have enough power in his left leg, his back leg, to pull Jofra Archer for 6 over deep mid wicket over there, and then play a couple of other fantastic shots. He hit one shot actually. He hit a 4 off Stokes, I think, to get his 50, which was just basically a block, and all the fielders were on the boundary, and it still went for 4. And it was a sort of I suppose really just the evidence of his brilliant timing and talent.
Oh yes, there's no two ways about it. Listen, his talent we've all seen, and his batting style as well. If you see, he's not someone who depends a lot on a stable base. You see him playing those shots while he's on the move, so he could do that. He doesn't move his feet too much either, and he's got those big shots without moving his feet, without having a stable base. So all that is brilliant, but the contribution, he scored 17 more runs, I believe, from that 37 where he got injured. And then not just that, if you look at the partnerships that he's had with Washington Sundar and then with Shardul, if I'm not wrong, was around 40 plus runs. So in the context of India getting 358, those are very, very crucial contributions.
And did you think 350, you said yesterday you thought 350 was a key target.
Yes.
Were you happy with that?
I was happy with that. I was like 350 was bare minimum. Obviously could have been more the better, because again I don't think day 4, day 5 will be that easy to bat on, or third or fourth innings, so you want to score as much, but 350 was alright. Wasn't too happy with the bowling effort though.
Right, no, I mean we can come to that obviously. Jofra Archer got a wicket right at the end, but of course the star bowler Ben Stokes, 5 for 72, his first 5-wicket haul since 2017, so 8 years between 5-wicket hauls. And the most amazing thing about him actually is he's now gone to 229 Test wickets, which is the same as Darren Gough, very fine England fast bowler of course, and he's gone past Harmison, he's gone past Flintoff. He's not far from Garfield Sobers, 235, and also Alec Bedser, who is a famous old England bowler, who actually was at one point the leading Test wicket taker of all time, 236, before he was overtaken by people like Fred Truman and obviously others. But it's amazing, really, to think he's got 229 Test wickets. It's a fantastic effort, and he's just bowling beautifully, isn't he?
Oh yes, I mean he's always been a good bowler. One, because of his action, because of the angles that he creates with his action. With someone who falls over, you generally expect the ball to come back into you, but he, from that action, managed to leave the right-hander, which is really, really difficult. So one is that. Secondly, but that is the skill bit, and that's what I say about Bumrah as well. Yes, he's got unique action and everything else, but also like Bumrah, what Ben Stokes has is that cricketing IQ. He's got those skill sets, but knowing when to use them, and obviously a big heart. I mean, there's no two ways about it. I mean, he's got a huge, massive heart. I mean, the spells that he's bowled, last test match, this test match, long spells, and all of that. But the IQ, I think cricketing IQ is right up there with the best in the world.
Yeah, I think he's just changed a couple of things. I think he's increased his run-up slightly, so that now instead of starting on a mark, he actually sort of almost jogs into his mark. So he's actually extended his run a little bit. And I also think another thing he's done, I'm just going to go backwards slightly on camera here, but I think he's made sure that he's bowling from a very high position. Sometimes bowlers can end up stretching, a bit like this I'm demonstrating, sort of leaning back, because their stride pattern's a bit too long. And what he's doing is transferring his back leg weight into his front leg and bowling much more over the top, over the top of his front leg. So he's got a much better sort of upright position at the crease, and that enables you to bowl a lovely length, but also to get that late movement away, and of course a long follow through. That's all indicative of just having a slightly better transfer of weight in the action. And he just looks as if he's sort of gliding to the wicket and unleashing 85 mile an hour deliveries. Fantastic.
And over a period of time. We are not talking about 3 over, 4 over spells. We are talking about 7 over, 8 over spells, bowling 3 spells, 4 spells in an innings. And that's where I believe the fitness that he's worked so hard over the last few months is reaping benefits.
So before we leave the Pant situation, let's get to the Betfair exchange today, our little debate about an issue in the game. And it arose from the Pant situation today, where we thought, actually, I was staying with Michael Vaughan last night and we were talking about it, and we said, well, Pant's out of the game. He's not going to play anymore. Probably won't play for the rest of the series. Isn't that a big disadvantage to a team, that you can't replace a player who's got an obvious injury, like a break, that he can't play anymore, but you can't replace him with a guy that can bat and bowl? You can have a keeper, like Dhruv Jurel's going to come out and keep, and he did, but you can't bat and bowl, so it means India would play with 10 men. And it seems crazy that you can't substitute for an obvious injury. You can for concussion. So actually we were sort of laughing slightly, kind of sadistically, saying what he should have done is faked a head injury and then you get a concussion substitute. Obviously people see through that, but what's your thoughts about potential substitutes?
I think it should be, and in fact the new playing conditions according to ICC, they are trying out this new rule starting from October of this year in first class cricket. For 6 months I believe they're going to try out like for like substitute for obvious injuries like Rishabh Pant. But you got to be a little careful. You got to be the rule has to be very simple, very straightforward, and no ambiguities in terms of no muscle injuries. It has to be very, very obvious, like the Rishabh Pant case where it happened on the field and physically you can see it, visually you can see that. Because if you don't have those very specific rules and boundaries, then it can be misused, like so many other rules generally are misused. So you don't want that to happen. While I do understand you need a substitute incidents like this, first day of a test match, you lose a batter, you lose a bowler, you got to play the rest of the test match, you need a replacement, but you got to be very, very careful this rule not being misused. But we'll see, we'll figure it out with this new playing conditions that ICC is going to try out at first class cricket, how that works out.
I hope so, because we've had a couple of incidents of this over the last few years. Jimmy Anderson pulled up in the Ashes in the first test at Edgbaston, couldn't play the rest of the game. England lost him then, and Nathan Lyon famously in the Ashes of 2023 at Lords got a terrible injury, and he sort of actually hobbled to the wicket and managed to make a few runs incredibly, but it's not very good for someone's health. I was worried for Pant today that he'd get hit on the foot again, and it would make a really bad job of it.
But like I said, Rishabh being Rishabh, you would always expect him to do what people don't expect him to do. So that's him, and like I said, there was more of a statement being made there how this young team's going to play going forward. Yes, it's dangerous, it could be, but are you really worried about it at this point in time? When you're playing for the country, you do anything, right? So I think that was a really good effort, and really proud of him.
Do you think he'll bat in the second innings if he has to?
I think he would. I think he would, and it seems like India would need that, because without him or just 10 batters, this could be won't be easy for India.
Right, we'll take a quick break, and afterwards we'll talk about India's bowling and England's batting. Okay, so England came out, and actually the playing conditions at the time when England were bowling and early on when they were batting were quite conducive to seam bowling, actually, weren't they? And the ball was swinging around. In fact, I thought when England bowled, they probably did too much. The ball did too much at times. There was the opportunity for India to take early wickets. I thought, that the ball would do enough. But they gave the new ball to Bumrah and to Kamboj, the new player, and the new bowler, and I thought that was a bit of a risk, and it didn't pay off, did it?
It didn't pay off. That's a different thing. But then, listen, I don't think that was a mistake. I think I would have gone with it, and I agree with that decision. Anshul is a new ball bowler. He does bowl really well. He swings the ball. He seams the ball more than swinging the ball. He seams the ball, bowls in the right areas. His speed has never been his forte. He was never quick, but what he does do, he bowls at that heavy ball. It skids through, very good release. He's got a backspin on the ball as well, so it hits the bat harder. So I definitely agree with that. It didn't work out, and obviously the conditions, huge change in those conditions. When India were batting was overcast, windy and all, and suddenly when England came out to bat, the sun was out, and what happened, I thought, was that Indian bowlers saw what happened in the first session. They tried a little too much, tried to attack the stumps a little too much, and that played into the hands of Zak Crawley and Ben Duckett. And then before India could realize what's happening, both of them were set and England were on the stride.
Actually, I marvel at Ben Duckett's leg side play, because of course he's famous really for his cutting and pulling, isn't he, and his offside play. And so I suppose teams have now decided, well, can't give him any width, we've got to keep it quite tight to the stump. And he's now very good at turning the ball, and he times it. Those balls that are sort of sliding into the pads, quite a lot of batters miss those, or they hit on the pads and they go for leg byes or whatever. He hits them unerringly, not down to fine leg, square for 4 consistently. He did it 3 times in Cambodge's first over.
Absolutely, and to be fair, obviously he's a superb batter. He worked really hard, played a superb innings. But I also thought India trying too hard to pick up a wicket gave a few easy runs as well on the pads, like you mentioned, and also the length. Because ideally, how I see it is, to someone like Ben Duckett who likes playing square off the wicket, especially off the back foot, you don't mind him driving. At least start of his innings, let him get onto the front foot and drive down the ground, which obviously didn't happen as much. Even those flicks on the leg side were length balls where he didn't really have to move his feet. So those things, but listen, I think Ben Duckett is one of the better bats, or one of the best in the world right now, to be fair.
All formats as well.
Yeah, exactly.
IPL contract maybe?
Could well be, because when we talk about the top batters in world cricket right now, you generally don't take his name, but I think it's about time people wake up to this and say, you know what, no, he is one of the top batters in all 3 formats, now that he started playing all 3 formats now, and he's been quite effective playing white ball cricket as well, T20 cricket as well.
So denied a Test 100, got out on 94 by the debutant actually. Of course, we haven't mentioned Crawley. I mean, Zak Crawley now. So those of you who would have watched or listened to this podcast yesterday would have heard us saying Zak Crawley 5-2 to get a 50 here. Anybody who put some money on that would have done well, because of course he got 84 in the end. I mean, he didn't look quite right at the start. It took a long time to get off the mark, actually, 12 balls before he even got his first run. And I thought, he's going to nick off again, or he's going to get bowled through the gate or something. But he sort of battled through and unfurled some pretty good shots. And when the batting got easier, he looked very dominant.
And I think this is the best I've seen him bat this series. Obviously, second innings of the first test, he batted beautifully. Headingly. But then here...
That was a bit stickier, wasn't it? That was a bit more solid. Here was a bit more fluent in the end.
Absolutely. I mean, the way he bats, the good bit is he's been getting out nicking. But in this innings, you don't see him chasing outside off stump. So he wasn't kind of prodding at balls outside off stump. Either he was driving it or letting them go. So it was the thought process was very clear. Either I'm going to go or I'm not going to go. So no prodding and fishing anything outside off stump. I think he left the ball really well outside off stump, and he looked really, really solid. Looked really good.
How critical would you be of the Indian bowlers? Because often when you see an opening stand of 160, you say, well, was that great batting or was it bad bowling? I felt India were a bit two-sided. They bowled a bit wide. They bowled quite a lot down the leg side. Actually, they didn't manage to maintain discipline. But at the same time, you have to give credit to Duckett and Crawley, because left hand, right hand, short guy, tall guy, they're good at pushing singles and rotating, aren't they? Which makes it harder for the bowlers.
I mean, you mentioned tall and short, left and right, but very different scoring areas as well. You've got Zak Crawley, who scores down the ground. You have Ben Duckett, who scores square off the ground. So you got to bowl fuller to Duckett, but you got to bowl a little back of length to Zak Crawley. So there are a lot of things which you've got to get right against this pair. The other important thing is, we keep talking about their boundary hitting ability, but they're running between the wicket, picking up singles. That's such an essential part of this pair, this partnership. Where I think India could have done better is the word you mentioned, discipline. I thought Indian bowlers bowled 3 good balls in an over, then 1 or 2 boundary deliveries, and easy boundary deliveries, full toss, or rather half volleys on the leg side or wide outside off stump, those things. So I think their partnership was over 30 odd overs, and they hit 24 boundaries in 30 overs. That's almost a boundary every over.
Yeah.
So that just tells you what I'm saying. I mean, there was a boundary ball, a poor delivery every over, so there was no pressure. And on top of that, if you're giving singles or they're picking up singles, you're not bowling at one batter over the whole over. So that's something that did really well, but Indian bowlers could have been better.
Yeah. Lovely evening, isn't it? I mean, it's beautiful now. It's the best light of the day. It's 7:30. We're about to finish. I just want to tell you one quick story, actually. 1971, there was a match here, Gillette Cup semi-final, Lancashire-Gloucestershire, very famous game. They carried on playing until 9:15.
Wow.
Because there was rain interruptions and so on, and they finished the match. David Hughes, my namesake, actually who I'm named after, I'm known as Yozza, and he was originally the first Yozza. David Hughes, he hit 24 of an over, and Lancashire won. But there was a funny scene during this game when at about 8:30, the batters were sort of saying, the light's not really great, and the umpire, Arthur Jepson, said, "What, are you complaining about the light?" And they said, "Yeah, there were no floodlights in those days." And Arthur Jepson said, "What's that up there?" And they said, "Well, that's the moon." And he said, "Well, how much further do you want to see?" True story. But anyway, it all ended well for Lancashire. And they beat Gloucestershire and went on to the final and won the final, actually. So it was a great day for Lancashire, 1971. Bit of a digression, but Joe Root not out 11 tonight, 20 runs more, and he goes past Jack Callis and Raul Dravid, I'm afraid, to become the third most run scorer in Test cricket history, just behind Ponting and, of course, the great Sachin. What do you think? Would you be putting money on Root to get runs tomorrow?
Well, 20, yes.
Oh, you would, okay. But hopefully no more.
Yeah, not more than that. Not more than that. Listen, he's a legend. He's one of the greatest, one of the all-time great in this format for sure. There's no two ways about it. Where he's going to finish, only he knows. Because he still looks good to go for another few years. And the consistency and everything else is absolutely fabulous. So, yeah, I mean, but, and it's so amazing. You see Joe Root against any other bowler in the world, then you see Joe Root against Bumrah, and you see the difference there in the body language and everything else, isn't it? I mean,
how many times has Bumrah got him? 11?
I think 11. Yeah, and but listen, he's one of the all-time greats. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah. Well, good luck to Joe. Good luck to Jasprit as well, because we want to see a good contest. So Jasprit Bumrah on Betfair is 10-1 to take 5 wickets in this innings. I mean, that's quite a long shot, actually. I suppose it depends how many overs he's going to bowl, because Jadeja will probably bowl a fair bit, and they'll rotate the seamers. Yeah. What do you reckon? Another 5 for Jasprit? It's a pitch that might suit him.
It might suit him, but yeah, I mean, listen, you never count him out, Jasprit Bumrah, as far as wickets are concerned. But also something that you mentioned about Jadeja and Washington Sundar, because the Zak Crawley wicket just tells you that there is something in for the spinners. Because we Indian batters, we don't get too perturbed by spin as long as it's not turning from the outside. The moment it starts turning from the stumps, that's when you start thinking about it. But if the ball's turning from outside off stump, that's fine. That's not going to bother you. But that's what happened with Zak Crawley. That ball pitched on off stump and spun from there. And if Jadeja is spinning from the stumps, then he becomes extremely difficult.
So it sounds to me then from that with these odds at India 7-1, you might have a little bit of that, because you can see the ball starting to turn, runs being quite tricky in the last innings. So you'd still like to be in India's position, would you?
Yes, I would. There's no two ways about it. But you've got to accept that as of now, England's ahead in this game. There's no two ways about it. I mean, England's ahead. They are favourites as of now. But this series been like that. It's so it's been too difficult to call this series. So yeah, even the England's ahead, but you never know tomorrow.
Well, England have got a long batting order, so my hunch is that they'll get a bit of a lead. I reckon sort of 70-80 lead. But anyway, we'll see. And don't forget, by the way, if you want to bet, you have to be 18 and over, and also please gamble responsibly. And those odds that I gave you are correct at the time of recording, which is a beautiful evening here, 7:30 tonight. Deep, thank you very much for your time. We'll see you tomorrow, and we'll be back tomorrow to review the third day's play. Thanks for listening.